The National Investor's motto is, you can get information anywhere, but here you get knowledge. And for well over 40 years now, Chris Temple has imparted that knowledge, an unparalleled, understandable, and useful take on the big picture of the markets and of our world. He has been out in front of what you see on the news every day on many themes. More, Chris has taken this macro knowledge and his unique analytical abilities to uncover unique investment opportunities. Often he has guided his members to big winners in resources, biotech stocks, and more. His talents and connections often getting him into ground floor opportunities before they are discovered. Without further ado, here is Chris with today's topic.
Welcome back, folks. Here we're going to have a quickie of an update from Ross McElroy. He is the CEO of Apollo Silver, which you'll find on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol APGO. And here on the OTCQB in the US, it's under the symbol APGOF. I've followed the company. Actually, was one of the first to recommend it when its executive chairman, Andy Bowering, first brought the company public back during COVID. Since that time, they've been doing some work on their flagship project in California's San Bernardino County, the Calico Project, where they came out fairly recently with an updated mineral resource estimate that we talked about actually with Andy several weeks back on one of my colleagues' podcasts, Callie Van Zant. And so as not to reinvent the wheel and get right into some pertinent updates, I'm including the link to that discussion with Andy on Calico that we had several weeks ago. You'll see that in the show notes, a link to that particular video discussion. Today, the CEO of the company, Ross McElroy, and I are going to update you on several things, including a very interesting meeting he was just at recently in San Bernardino County. Before we get to that, the usuals, either Ross or myself may be making what are construed as forward-looking statements. As the name implies, legally and otherwise, they are looking into the future at what the company hopes to do, expects to do, wants to do, and so forth, which may or may not happen all at the time and in the manner in which it's expected. So that's just a fancy legalese name of saying, hey, we all do our best, but nothing in life is guaranteed. That said, you're going to hear toward the end of our discussion how well people in a silver stock have already done, especially in 2025, and I'm quite confident that that's going to be replicated more in the future as well. So for present purposes, Ross and I are going to visit about what is going to happen now in the aftermath of the recent announcement of the mineral resource estimate upgrade, where the silver resource was upgraded. There's modest but hopeful and likely to increase gold resource as well. And with the introduction of some zinc into the equation, and most important, I think, as far as the strategic aspect of this is concerned, and this is one has been a long time coming, a barite resource that the Calico Project has as well. Barite, of course, is a key mineral that is used in several different industrial applications. Most importantly, I think, in the energy industry. We produce basically none of it here in the U.S., as is the case with so many other things. So we're going to talk about that. You're going to hear Ross as well share some stories about a meeting he was at just a couple weeks ago as we're recording this. And that was at a meeting put on by San Bernardino County. A lot of people don't realize that California, at least this area in the southeast part of the state, kind of hugs both the southernmost Nevada border and southwestern Arizona borders. This is a mining area, and I was astounded to see, I know there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I was astounded to see that there's like 90 different mining projects active right now. A lot of them rock quarries, gravel, and stuff like that. But Equinox Gold is there. And of course, what really put San Bernardino County on the map for everybody in the recent past was the MP Materials deal that the Trump administration announced recently as we seek to bolster our domestic capacity for rare earth metals and associated products, batteries, and things like that from it. Believe it or not, that's also in San Bernardino County. Equinox Gold is as well, and others. So this is a happening place, and the Calico project that Apollo has is very prospective. It's also a development stage for what it already has, besides the likely ability to grow these resources over time as well. So we're going to hear all about that from Ross. And here is Ross McElroy, the CEO of Apollo Silver. He's at a conference in New York, but took some time to visit with us. Ross, how are you?
Great, Chris. Great to be here with you today.
Well, likewise. You were just at a conference in San Bernardino County that we're going to get to in just a second. But before that, you guys just announced that you had upsized a private placement because you're going toward the development stage ultimately with the project in California's San Bernardino County. So you're up to what, 27 million is the target?
Yeah, that's the target. We're just a little shy of 27 million Canadian.
Okay. And so you'll be closing on that, I assume, shortly.
Yeah, if things go right, we should be closing around midweek, so really a couple days away.
Good, good. Probably by the time some people see this conversation, for that matter. And so, what does that mean for, as far as next steps for the Calico project? I mean, you guys came out with that resource I referred to before you came on,
Yeah.
the upgrade to, you got the silver resource, 125 million some odd ounces. You've got a small gold resource. Importantly, and maybe to help grease the skids, the barite resource that we discussed before, the three of
Yeah.
us, you, Andy, and I, and Andy, when he and I did a conversation recently. So, with this raise, what are your next steps development wise to move the project along?
Sure. And I'll also add in, before I forget, we also have another critical mineral, zinc. So that's
Oh,
now
that's true. That's right.
that's part of the mineral resource estimate as well. So,
Yeah.
just broadly speaking, Chris, with the $27 million that we'll close on here shortly, that's going to give us enough runway for the next 2 years easy. No matter how aggressive we go, we're definitely financed for all activities at Calico, and for that matter. If we can get access down in Mexico as well, we'll be financed there. So we're actually sitting very well. But specifically to your question, what do we do at Calico? We're ready, at least for part of the project, to move forward in economic studies. The biggest part of the resource, and the one that we've got the most information on, is the Waterloo deposit. That contains, about 125 million ounces of silver in the measured and indicated category. We've got 130 ounces of gold, which is up from 70, so almost a double on with the new resource estimate on gold. We've added, as we've already talked about a little bit, barite and zinc to the equation. So basically, we're ready to move forward at Waterloo. And so whether we do a preliminary economic assessment in early 2026, which I think is the probable course, we may be able to leapfrog a bit and go into a PFS, at least, maybe on the heels fairly quickly of a PEA. That's how I'm considering it right now, but that's 2026 and 2027. So the next, say, 14 to 20 months or so out, we're going to be busy at Calico advancing economic studies. And we're also looking at, what do we do with the other resource, Langtree? That's another 57.5 million ounces of inferred silver. We don't know whether it has barite, whether it has zinc, whether it has gold. It's never been assessed for that. And so we're looking at, do we bring Langtree also into the equation to get it on par with Waterloo? But everything's moving forward. We're lined up and geared to get going down at Calico. So 2026 is going to be very busy for us.
Nice. Now, Ross, at Langtree, are you looking at doing some additional drilling in the near future to flesh that out?
Yeah, so because it's an inferred resource, that's not something you could carry forward into a pre-feasibility. So
Right.
you would have to, you probably look at it first in a scoping study and then a PEA at inferred. But essentially, in order to move it on into the advanced economic studies, it would require more additional infill drilling. to get it up to indicated and measured. And at the same time, we would be evaluating samples for barite, for zinc, for gold, which I suspect they're in there. There's really no difference. Langtree looks to me to be just a smaller version of Waterloo. You know, they're right
Right.
on trend with each other. The mineralogy is probably identical. I suspect, you know, the contents of the resource wouldn't be dissimilar either, but we just don't know that much about Langtree. Not certainly not to the degree we know Waterloo.
Right. Well, at least now you'll have the budget to figure that out to the extent you need to. And what's nice about that, you talked about the possibility of a scoping study first to, check out the metallurgy and all that. What's nice is that this is all pretty much at or near surface material.
Oh, but it is absolutely. You know, in the latest mineral resource estimate, you saw the Waterloo at 0.08. I mean, essentially, this deposit comes up to surface.
Hmm.
So there's not you don't need to develop and move a whole lot of rock to get at the ore body. It's right there. So it's shallow. Now, having said that, Langtree sits a little bit deeper down in the sequence. It's on
Okay.
strike of Waterloo to the northeast. It's a little bit deeper, and so it's, well, it'll have to be assessed sort of on its own merits.
Sure.
But Waterloo absolutely is, it basically comes right up the surface. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you announced recently, a couple of weeks or so ago, that you had been by invitation at an industry luncheon that was put on by the officials in San Bernardino County. A lot of people don't remember or don't realize that that is historically a pretty active mining county. What shocked me when I read your news, I didn't realize this number, Ross, but that there's 90 active mining operations today. Not 90 total historical, 90 active. And like you reminded me, a lot of them are gravel pits. You've got, the Equinox gold mine. That's a big one, and they got to expand a Fast 41 designation from the
Right.
government too recently. Uh,
Yeah, no, there's
yeah,
that. And sorry, yeah, I probably interrupted because you were
no, no,
thinking along the lines that and there's also MP Minerals that have, the very large rare earth operation in that county too. So to the point that you're bringing up, I mean, mining is such a critical part of the economy of San Bernardino. They recognize it, and the fact that we were invited down for a luncheon to meet the new director of land use. So we met with all the top officials at San Bernardino. And I'll tell you, I've never attended such a positive meeting before in my career. And I've worked in a lot of different jurisdictions, a lot of different places. I've never been invited to meet with all the levels of the government in one room so that they can hear what is industry interested in, how can they help us, how can we build, what do we need to do to make life easier for you guys. I mean, that's an incredible message to get. That is
well,
not
it
what
is.
people think of California as, but that's what San Bernardino is.
Well, no, you get the picture if you're not from there of everybody sitting around a table with blue hair and soy lattes and trying to figure out how to stop mining. And here they are. But that MP materials really put that area on the map more so for everybody else. I mean, it's bad enough that from time to time, I know you guys, you and Andy Bowering with Apollo, you have to get everybody past the initial gulp, that you're in California, so that they realize you are in an active mining area. But that MP deal was huge. I've talked about it in a few different contexts of the government really looking to build a much more comprehensive industrial policy around mining, around the recovery of our critical minerals industries and stuff like that. And I want to have your thoughts a little bit up to date too, Ross, as far as critical minerals. Now, barite, which you included in that recent resource estimate, is on the government's critical materials list.
Yes.
We don't produce any of it for the most part in the U.S. right now, do
No,
we?
no,
We're not.
it's pretty much all imported.
Yeah. And how big is that, do you think, going forward in your negotiating with the authorities? I know especially over water supplies, which is going to be a big part of your economic study coming up.
Yeah, I mean, water is going to be a critical issue. We are in the Mojave Desert, so there's not a lot of water sitting around at surface. There is aquifer water, there is underground water available, but it's still an adjudicated basin, and you have to figure out who gets what, and there's a cost to obtaining water, but so that is going to be one of the the critical pathways forward at
Sure.
Calico is determining water, but I think there's going to be some ways that I think that'll work for our benefit, which we're going to be investigating, but I've got some decent ideas on how we can get our fair share of water as needed down there. But so, anyways, it's an issue, absolutely, but
Right.
it's not one that you can't solve.
Right. So tell me a little bit more too about the sense of everybody at this luncheon that you were at, especially with the MP news. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
biggest thing that's happened in years, if ever, for
Well, I'd
the
say,
local
yeah.
area.
Yeah, well, the attendance there was probably split 50-50 between industry and county. So, we
Okay.
had there were well over 20 county officials, all as I say, all the way up to the top brass, the CEO and the directors, and and all their various immediate reports. And then, of course, you had representatives from each of the companies that we've been, talking about in this conversation. So, um, as I say, the message there was really, how can we help you? And I'll tell you, when I talk to other operators, Equinox Gold, MP, they're telling me that this is a great jurisdiction to work in. So it isn't just one side telling the other in a bit of a sales job. That's not it at all. It really, the county understands the importance of the mining business to their, economic well-being. And the industry, of course, we like to be able to work in places where we're welcome, where if you happen to have a phenomenal deposit, and I think that we have one of those, then you want to be in a jurisdiction that's going to let you do something. So,
Oh, for
we're pretty
sure.
confident all the way around that we can move forward.
Great. Now, you guys have had like a lot of advanced exploration stories and precious metals, especially. You guys have had a great 2025.
Yes.
Um, how would you characterize, just out of curiosity, Ross, the surge that you've had in the share price, which we've all enjoyed? Do you think that's to do with silver? Is it some of the other stories? What are you seeing like at the conferences you're at right now in New
Sure.
York? What are you seeing as far as feedback?
Yeah, well, I would say that, first it all starts with silver.
Mhm.
Silver's up, what, some 70% or so this year since January 1st. Our share price, of course, is up almost, what, 240%
Yeah.
since the beginning of the year. And, I think equities behave that way anyways.
Mhm.
They definitely have a lot more torque than just the price of the commodity. So I think there's that aspect to it too. But I think having a good U.S. story these days actually goes a long way.
Yeah.
Um, we've got a great project where, having a mining project in the U.S. and even in California, as I say, in San Bernardino, is actually a plus for you. It's not considered a liability. Whereas, at other times in the past, that might not have been, seen as so positive. But I think right now, with the U.S. Definitely on the path to, making themselves independent on all kinds of minerals, primarily critical
Yep.
minerals, but strategic minerals, of which precious metals are. And by the way, silver is on the short list to become a critical mineral. So I think the short list of 2025, we may see silver added to that as well. So there's all kinds of impetus for, I guess optimism in there, and that is reflected in the, I guess in the share price of the company. But the fact that we're advancing the project, there is daylight that we can see, a light at the end of the tunnel. I can see this project ultimately, getting to the finish line, which to me is a mining operation, and
Right.
so we're aiming towards that end goal, and that's reflective with, as I say, with the price of the commodity, the enthusiasm for the U.S., the enthusiasm for the quality of the deposit that we have, and the fact that the people recognize that this is a real company backed by people that are successful in this business. Andy Bowering's track record, it just speaks for itself. He's He's been absolutely phenomenal in there. I've had a pretty good history in the business too,
Yes,
and I
you
think
have.
we make a pretty good tag team. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, you had the great sale of Fission Uranium some months back after building that company up. Andy, and I've said this repeatedly, Andy's name is not always mentioned quite as much as the McEwens and the Sprots and so forth of the world, but he's still one of the small handful of people who can raise a lot of money on his name. And I remember because I was there when he started Apollo back during COVID and raised over 50 million bucks when he had nothing but his name. But
yeah,
that was enough. And I mean, look at one of his other creations, Prime Mining, that just got taken out
yeah.
recently.
No, absolutely no. He's a wonderful
Yeah.
man to be partnered with. I couldn't be
Yeah.
happier.
Well, I'm excited for you guys and what's coming with Apollo. We haven't even talked about it today. That's a subject for another time, but you're looking to get the Cinco de Mayo project in Mexico up and going again one of these days. That's a hugely prospective project and in a country that Andy has a lot of experience in. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you guys down there too.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add one quick point on that
Sure.
maybe just to whet the appetite a bit. But I think that, we're very optimistic. We feel optimistic that there is a change down there. The fact that we're communicating with the community now and they're engaged, they're interested to hear what our plans are. And, to me, it gives a good sense that something can happen down there. So.
Great. Well, if anybody can pull it off, it's you guys. So. Ross, thanks for taking the time in your schedule in New York for this, folks. As I said early on, here's the information again on the screen. Do your homework on Apollo Silver. It's one that our members have already done very well on, but I think the better days are still to come as the Calico Project moves forward towards a development decision and stage inexorably. And again, with the wild card right now, but a big one if it all works out with the Cinco de Mayo project in Mexico. So Ross, thanks again. Look forward to our paths crossing one of these days soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Thank you.
Take care.
For much more of the National Investor's cutting-edge content and actionable investment opportunities, make sure to subscribe to Chris's free content at nationalinvestor.com. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel too. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.